Welcome to This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm Dr. Melissa Batchelor, and I am a nurse and a nurse practitioner with over 25 years of experience caring for older adults and their families. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to share a few of the different ways that you can connect with me. You can go to my website, MelissaBPhD.com, and sign up to be an HYSU Insider for free. And there you will find about 10 of the different handouts that I've mentioned all in one place. But if you upgrade to become an HYSU MVP member, you'll have access to all of the digital handouts that I've created, plus a hub of videos, resources, and courses that I've organized by subtopic, which makes it even easier for you to find the information that you're looking for. I also host a monthly live Q&A webinar with my MVP members. But you can also become a member on YouTube, and depending on your level of membership, you will get early access to my weekly episodes, but you can also join me for a monthly live Q&A webinar, or you can tune in weekly for a live stream with me on Tuesdays at 5. Choosing the right nursing home for your loved one is a crucial decision that can greatly impact not only their quality of life, but your quality of life, as well as your peace of mind. So in this episode, I'm going to give you essential tips and strategies about how to choose a quality nursing home and avoid the bad ones. So if you've ever had to make this decision for yourself or a loved one, what was the biggest challenge that you faced when trying to find a quality nursing home? Just put your answer in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. You might also want to check out another episode that I've done. It's called What is a Nursing Home? 5 Things to Know. And so we'll have that link down in the show notes for you as well. But in this week's episode, you're going to learn about key factors to consider, such as the nursing home location, qualifications of the staff, what the facility looks like and what amenities they offer, as well as what the residents that live there have to say about living there. We're also going to talk about the importance of visiting potential nursing homes ahead of time before a crisis, making sure that you're asking the right questions, and then understanding what your loved one needs or even what you might need if this is something that you're looking for. So we're talking about choosing a quality nursing home. And this is something that you don't have to let all the options stress you out. But the advice we're going to give today is just to really help guide you through the selection process so that you can make an informed choice that really promotes the health of your loved one, make sure everybody's happy, and make sure everybody's safe. So if you're new to this channel and the podcast, welcome. This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm Dr. Melissa Batchelor, and I'm a nurse and a nurse practitioner with over 25 years of experience caring for older adults and their families, primarily in nursing homes, but also in a lot of other long-term care settings. And this is a topic that many families struggle with, and I typically get a lot of questions from my own friends and family about how to choose a nursing home. So thank you for joining me today. You're going to empower yourself with the knowledge you need to find the very best nursing home for your loved one. And if you're getting value from this video, please don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my YouTube channel or on the audio-only platform that you're watching or listening from today, so that you can get more valuable content on caring for older adults. So now let's dive into today's content, where we're talking about how to choose a quality nursing home and avoid a bad one. So when an older adult needs more help than family members or friends can provide, it's really probably time to begin considering moving into some type of residential live-in facility like a nursing home. And when I say that term residential long-term care facility, I'm talking about assisted living facilities, nursing homes, or residential care. But in this episode, I'm going to be focused just on nursing homes. And choosing the place for to live long-term is a big decision, and it can be very hard to know where to start. But in this episode, I'm going to help you get started. And if you're an HYSU MVP member, you're going to have access to a printable checklist in the membership library to help you do your research and keep track of what you find out. You can become an HYSU MVP member today by going to my website at MelissaBPhD.com/join. And I'll tell you more about all the great benefits of becoming a member of this community at the end of this video. And then you can also, if you have more questions about housing options for older adults, I do have another episode titled that, and we'll have that link for you in the show notes as well. And that's a video that will explain the difference between assisted living, nursing homes, independent living, CCRCs, those types of things. So now let's talk about the 6 tips that I have to help you find the right place for your loved one. So the first thing you need to think about is you have to consider what the person needs and what they're going to want. If this is a decision that you're making ahead of time and you're just trying to get your bearings and see what's in your area, that's actually the best time to start looking at nursing homes. Hopefully you might not ever need them, but at least you will have been to these facilities, so you have some idea of what they look like and where they're located, if you have a sense that you might need one in the future. Because knowing what the person needs, does that person need assistance with everyday activities? Are they going to need physical therapy? Do they need nursing care, hospice care? Are you looking for a special unit for people who have memory problems or dementia? And if you're unsure, you can always ask your local healthcare providers which services may be most helpful. And then also thinking about what features are important to the person, because they may care about quality of food, most people do, but also what social and recreational activities does that facility offer, and how close is this facility to other family and friends so they can easily visit. Sometimes I know back with my own grandmother, some of the nicer facilities were in the more like suburban areas, but most of my grandmother's family lives in a rural area. And so while that facility wasn't as aesthetically nice looking, the quality of care or the care was still at a quality level there. So we ended up placing her in the more rural facility just because she would get more visitors. And that was one of our most important things. The other thing you can talk about, well, that you need to know first, is whether or not your loved one is even going to qualify for the level of care the nursing home resident has to be at in order for Medicare and Medicaid to pay for nursing home care. Most people was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying that, I think most Americans think you go from home to the nursing home. And that's not a linear path. You can end up in lots of different places before you end up in a nursing home. In fact, only 4% of people over the age of 65 ever require nursing home care. So the first thing you need to look at is, do they meet these requirements? Some of the requirements, nursing homes are more focused on medical care, like an assisted living facility is more of a social care model. So this is someone who needs 24/7 supervision by licensed nurses. When I say that, I mean a nursing team that's led by a registered nurse or an RN with a team of licensed practical nurses or licensed vocational nurses, so LPNs, LVNs, and certified nursing assistants or CNAs. But this nursing team provides 3 daily meals. They provide assistance with daily activities like getting dressed or bathing or helping someone to eat their meals. But nursing homes also offer rehabilitation services such as PT, OT, and speech if the person needs those needs. So the other thing to ask your healthcare team is if they expect your loved one to be a long stay or a short stay resident. Many people think if I go to the nursing home, like if I fall and break my hip and enter the nursing home, I'm there to die. And that's not always true. If you were at home and doing well, our goal when you come into the nursing home as a short stay resident is that we will rehabilitate you, get you back on your feet, and get you back home within the shortest time frame possible. That's a very different scenario than someone who is more frail, maybe more towards the end of their life, and they cannot live on their own at all. That they are considered more of a long stay resident, and more than likely they will die in the nursing home or in some type of hospice facility. So tip number 2 is to talk to your family and friends and other people in your area, because you want to know about their experience with the different long-term care facilities in your area. Were they happy with the care? Did they find that they were able to keep their own healthcare providers? Did they have social workers available? What religious groups came in to the facility? So if you had to find a nursing home today, who do you know that you would ask these questions to? The next tip is to call and visit different facilities. And I recommend doing this before you have a crisis, because it is much better to visit these facilities and have an idea of the quality of care each one delivers before somebody ends up in the hospital and you have to make a decision kind of sight unseen. When when the person's in the hospital, it's already going to be very challenging. And it's going to be a lot more difficult to visit 2 or 3 facilities. And typically a case manager in a hospital would say, here are the 2 or 3 facilities that have an open bed. And it's going to be much more difficult to go visit those facilities. So it's better to have at least have visited 1 or 2, and then having a network of people that you can also call if you have any other questions. And we don't want to add additional stress because hospitalization itself is going to be stressful. And especially if you are at the point where you're realizing that person is not going to be able to go home by themselves. So you can start to gather your preliminary information on the nursing homes in your area by going to this website. It's called Medicare's Nursing Home Compare Tool. And that's where you can look up and find all the nursing homes and other healthcare facilities in your local area, your state. And I'm going to have a link to this tool in the show notes and in the blog that goes with this episode on my website. But you can also just search on Google for it by entering Medicare Nursing Home Compare Tool. The website comes right up, and it's a Medicare.gov website. And it should take you, when you search for the Medicare Nursing Home Compare Tool, it should take you to the nursing homes, including rehab services tab. And then you just enter your street, zip code, city, or state, and see what nursing homes are in your local area. And at the top, it has a filter that shows you so that you can sort by distance if somebody being close, within 25, 50 miles is important. You can also search for facilities. Say you live in California and your mom lives in North Carolina and you're trying to look at facilities. You just put in her zip code and those facilities will come up. So just a quick question. Have you ever heard of the Nursing Home Compare Tool? And if you've ever used the Nursing Home Compare Tool, did you understand how to use it? If not, leave me a comment and tell me what was most challenging about it. But you can also leave me a comment if you'd like for me to do a video about how to use the Nursing Home Compare Tool, because it can be a little complex. With the HYSU MVP Nursing Home Checklist, I do include a basic set of instructions for how to use the tool for the sections that tell you about Medicare, Medicaid certification, number of beds, those types of things. But I'd be happy to do a video and go on a little field trip and show you how to use that. So just leave a comment here and let me know if you'd like to do that. And so now, once you've identified a couple of nursing homes in your area, the next thing you should do is get in touch with each of those places on your list and make plans to visit each facility in person. So you just call the main number of the facility, which will be, if it's not in the Medicare.gov website, it's just a quick Google, and I know the addresses are there. But you just ask to take a tour with their admissions coordinator. You can also make plans to meet with the administrator, the director of nursing, and any other key staff members. And be sure that you print out and take a copy of the HYSU MVP Nursing Home Checklist so that you can fill that out for each facility visit. And that's really going to be the most helpful way for you to keep track of the questions you're asking, the answers you're getting. And then you can just kind of keep if it's not like an emergency situation where you're going to be placing somebody right away, you can just hold on to those. It's highly likely the staff will turn over before you go back if a couple of months have gone by. But at least you know the main roles, who's the administrator, who's the director of nursing, and who's the admissions coordinator. And then the next person would probably be the business office, and we're going to get to that in a minute when we talk about payment. So some of the things that you're looking for when you're doing on the Nursing Home Compare website is you're looking to see, do they take Medicare or Medicaid? So Medicare, Medicaid certification, their state licensing. Most places do have accessibility for people with disabilities. Making sure that when you do a tour that you're looking to see that the residents are appropriately dressed for the season, that they looked well cared for, that there's warm and kind of respectful interaction between the staff members and the residents, and then making sure that everything smells good. I think that's probably one of the biggest stereotypes, that all nursing homes, have a terrible smell. That's not true. They may have a temporary smell if someone has had an accident and needs to be assisted with that. But by and large, the majority of buildings that I've been in do smell clean and fresh, and they are well-maintained facilities. The next thing you should do is you could make a second visit, but without calling ahead, and particularly go by on a weekend or another time of day so that you can meet other staff members and you have an opportunity to attend and see different activities, how the meal times work. And if you can try the food, I would recommend trying the food. Most nursing homes aren't known for having the best food, but there are some that will. So food's very important when you're trying to heal and go through rehab to get back home. Or if you're there for a long time, it's even more important. So tip number 4 is to ask questions during your visit and be sure that you're documenting your answers in your nursing home checklist. And it's, the biggest thing to remember is you don't have to be afraid to ask questions. You should ask about anything that's important to you or concerning. But here are just a few ideas of questions to ask the staff. How many care providers are there per resident? And so this is typically nursing assistants to resident. What's their ratio on day shift, evening shift, and night shift? How many registered nurses do they have in the building? How many LPNs? And then what type of training are they given, particularly if the person's going to be in a memory care unit? How many of them are trained to provide that type of care? So next set of questions is how long has the director of nursing and the department heads for food, social services, like how long have they worked there? How often do these staff members turn over? You could ask about the licensed nursing turnover rates. I can tell you shouldn't be shocked if they tell you it's 50 to 60, 70% turnover, particularly with the nursing assistants. If it's lower than that, then you're probably looking at a good facility because nursing assistants stay in a place where they're treated with respect and they feel like the quality of care that they can deliver is good. So staff turnover is always an indicator of not only leadership, but kind of the whole culture of that organization. The next thing is who is the medical director and will you be able to keep your own personal doctor? But if you keep your own personal doctor, you need to talk to that provider to find out how often they're going to go by and visit the resident. Some physicians will use nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. That's what I did full time for over 5 years. And we were the ones that were there every day of the week. And then our supervising physician, because I'm in the state of North Carolina, would come by once a week. But all of the physicians that I worked for were geriatricians and they actually knew their residents. So making sure that the medical director or whoever, the nurse practitioners, PAs, that they actually know the residents and the staff can tell you who's quality, who shows up, who doesn't, who knows the residents. So those are other important questions to ask. Next question could be like, what activities are planned for residents during the week and on the weekends? And are you allowed to attend the activities, yourself, just to kind of see what they're like? Historically, nursing homes have been notorious here in the southeastern United States for basically they have the Bible and bingo. So if they do more than that, they are going above and beyond. And so looking to see what other types of activities they offer. Do they take, field trips? There are things, residents in nursing homes can leave during the day. They just have to be back overnight. So another thing to ask is, what is the visitation policy? How often can you take the person out? How do residents get to their medical appointments? Is there a safe outdoor space for them to go? And if you're looking for a special unit for people with Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia, what type of services are provided with that? And then number 5, we're talking about costs and understanding your financial obligation. So this news may come as a shock to you, but Medicare does not cover long-term stays in nursing homes. A lot of younger Americans really don't understand what Medicare covers. But if you're an adult child caring for an aging parent who's becoming more frail, this is the time to start learning because you're already going to have a very steep learning curve when it comes to nursing home care, navigating long-term care. So it's better to start now so that you can be prepared and avoid some of the stress that a nursing home placement brings with it. So in this episode, I'm just going to give you a basic overview about how nursing home care is paid for. You can take a much deeper dive, and I'm going to give you some different resources to do that as we go. But the first line of payment for a short stay resident in a nursing home typically is Medicare. However, after your first 100 days, your Medicare benefits are used up. If you still require more care or more long-term care, you will be required to pay for that care out of pocket until you've spent down all of your personal resources in order to qualify for Medicaid. So the first thing you need to know is what type of personal finances you're dealing with. So if you're an adult child of an aging parent, you can check out another episode that I've done before called Financial Caregiving, talking to parents, why, when, and how. And in that episode, I interviewed Cameron Huddleston. That is a 4-part series. They're grouped together in the HYSU MVP library so that they're easier to find. But knowing where your loved one stands financially is a critical first step in navigating any long-term care placement. So with Medicare, if you have a qualifying hospital stay, and by qualifying hospital stay, I mean that you have been in the hospital for 3 consecutive overnights as an inpatient, and you need to make sure that if you have a loved one who's in the hospital, that you need to make sure they have been admitted and they are considered an inpatient, because that 3 consecutive overnight stay, they can't be an observation. That's another big issue with emergency rooms, kind of putting people in observation. Those days and nights don't count towards a qualifying hospital stay. So making sure the person has been admitted so that within 3 days they can be discharged and it will trigger their skilled nursing home benefit. So after you have your 3-day qualifying nursing home stay, you then have up to 100 days of coverage for short-term stay in the nursing home. For the first 20 days, you pay nothing for all the covered services, but days 21 through 100, you will have a daily co-insurance. And after day 100, like I said, you pay out of pocket unless you have some other form of co-insurance, like an employer or union coverage, a Medigap policy, or a long-term care insurance policy. Medicare does typically cover some of the related costs, such as medical supplies, durable medical equipment like a walker or a wheelchair, and medical services provided by either a physician, nurse practitioner, or physician's assistant after your 100 days. But your room and board and care, like the nursing care, is no longer covered. The next option is Medicaid. And this is another payment option for a long-term stay resident in a nursing home, if the person is eligible based on their income and personal resources. So the process of qualifying usually means you have to spend all of your personal funds until you reach your state's qualifying level, which is typically around $2,000. So when you visit the nursing homes in your area, please find out what cost Medicare, Medicaid, and any other long-term care insurance policies you or your loved one have that you can use to pay for these costs. The facility should have a financial office, and they can help you determine what assistance is available and how you can navigate this complex payment system. I'll also have a link in the show notes and in the blog where you can go to my episode on Melissa. There's a link to paying for long-term care that will give you more information about how long-term care is paid for. And then when you meet with the business office, be sure that you review all of the financial resources that you or your loved one has, and then ask questions about anything that you don't understand, because they're really going to be the ones that can help guide you through this process. It's a lot to understand if you've never done it before. It's a lot to understand even if you have. And then lastly, I do have some resources that are also down in the show notes and will be in the blog. The first is the Elder Care Locator. So they have a website for that, or you can call 1-800-677-1116 to get help finding care in your area. You can also visit longtermcare.gov for information about housing options for older adults and finding local services. And you can always call your local area agency on aging or your Department of Health and Human Services within your state or your local government. Sometimes the area agency on aging is basically the senior center in your facility, but sometimes they may have the area agency on aging out front. But a lot of the stuff information you can get online, but we will have the information on my website within the blog related to this episode. So thank you for joining me today. And if you found any of this information to be of value, please hit the like button and share it with anyone else who might find it helpful. If you're on YouTube, you can join my community as a YouTube Insider member, and you get early access to all of my upcoming podcasts. And don't forget to go to my website, MelissaBPhD.com/join. That's where you can become an HYSU Insider for free, or you can upgrade to being an MVP. The nursing home checklist that I've mentioned a couple of times in this episode will only be available for MVPs. But HYSU in and of itself is a hub of curated digital resources, content, and courses that provide, and there's also an interactive private community for adult children of aging parents. It's for caregivers of people living with dementia and anyone interested in learning more about aging well or brain health. As an HYSU MVP member, you also get weekly invitations to join me for the live recordings of the podcast. And that's typically 3 to 4 weeks ahead of the time that they're released on YouTube and to the audio only platforms. And it's an opportunity for you to ask questions of me and my guest during these live recordings. You're also invited to join me once a month for a live Q&A session. And this is just an open session where you can submit questions ahead of time and I will answer them personally. You're also invited to join the private HYSU MVP Facebook group. And there's a printable HYSU resource guide that provides a roadmap for all of the curated content. I think this is episode like 194. So there's a lot of content in there and it's been organized for you. And the resource guide will be updated as new content is added. And it's basically like a TV guide. And then lastly, you get members only pricing on all of the upcoming HYSU courses. And what's really exciting is that we're actually working on making all the videos in HYSU commercial free. So you can actually watch all the video content without any ads or interruptions. And there'll be an option where you can go over to like a companion library, and all the videos will have closed captioning translations in 10 different languages. So if you have a suggestion for a language you'd like for me to include, please drop that in the comment below and I will make a note of it. So I hope you at least join us in HYSU Insider today for free so I can keep you up to date on all the exciting news and events and things that we're up to. And thank you so much for listening to the podcast and for your support of this work. So until next time, be well.